The storm outside the Blackwood estate was not merely whether it was a final reckoning for a dynasty built on shifting sand and hollow promises. Clara stood by the fireplace, her gray curls silvered by the flickering light of a dying flame, while the rain lashed against the leaded glass windows like a creditor demanding entry into a vault that had long been emptied of its soul. Michael burst through the double doors smelling of expensive gin, and the frantic cold sweat of a man who had gambled away a legacy was never truly his to lose. He paced the length of the study, his heavy boots dragging mud and dead leaves across the hand-woven Persian rugs, as he ranted about the creditors and the high-interest loans, and the men in dark suits who were no longer taking his phone calls or accepting his excuses. He demanded the mahogany box on the mantelpiece, claiming the Romanov diamonds were the only thing that could save the family name from the wolves at the door. He spoke of the stones as if they were his birthright, ignoring the decades of sacrifice his mother had made to keep the roof over his head and the wolves at bay. Clara looked at her son and felt a profound mourning, not for the cold brilliance of the stones, but for the boy he used to be before the shadow of greed had hollowed him out and replaced his heart with a ledger of mounting debts and broken oaths. She remembered the day 7 years ago when the first whispers of his reckless gambling had reached her ears like a cold draft under a locked door, and she had made the silent choice to protect her own future and the heritage of those who would actually value it. She recalled the secret trips to Arthur Henderson, a man who lived in a small, cluttered shop on the edge of the Diamond District, a man who understood the difference between price and value, and who had watched her husband grow from a boy to a titan. Arthur had looked at her through his thick spectacles and nodded without a word as she laid the real diamonds on his velvet mat and told him she needed them gone. He had spent weeks meticulously replacing every genuine Marquise cut diamond and every brilliant round solitaire with high-grade cubic zirconia stones that looked more perfect than the originals ever could, stones that sparkled with a synthetic fire that mimicked the glory of the Blackwood name while hiding a core of nothingness. She had sold the real stones at private auctions across Europe and North Africa, using the millions to fund a life he could never touch or squander a blind trust for her granddaughter, Lily, who was the only one left with the Blackwood eyes and a heart of gold and a small cottage by the sea where the air did not smell of old money and bitter lies. As Michael screamed about his entitlement and the unfairness of his plight, Clara reached into her worn leather jacket pocket and produced the tarnished brass key. Her hands did not shake as she placed it on the table between them, watching him snatch it up like a starving animal. She watched his greedy eyes ignite with a feverish light at the sight of the glittering glass as he threw open the lid of the box. And for a moment, she let a single tear fall down her weathered cheek, not out of sadness or regret, but out of a terrifying and beautiful relief that the weight of the lie was finally passing from her shoulders to his. He fled into the night, clutching a box of worthless light, believing he was a king once more, and that his problems were solved with a handful of stones, while Clara turned toward the hallway where her 2 suitcases waited packed and ready for a journey she should have taken years ago. She was leaving the house, the debt, the ghosts, and the son, who had become a stranger behind. She walked through the front door without looking back, and the rain felt like a baptism of freedom on her face as she stepped into the dark, where a new life waited for her on the horizon, far away from the sparkle of fake diamonds and the heavy chains of a dying name. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of a mother's secret and the price of a true legacy, make sure to hit the notification bell and subscribe to this channel for more stories of strength, resilience, and betrayal.